Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Carolina Conservatives. We are preachers with a punch, and my goodness, do we have a lot of things that have been going on. You need to stay tuned for this episode this week because we will be diving into dealing with the subject of our wonderful and talented Hispanic community, our Latina communities, and how that we can do a better job as conservatives in reaching those folks who are truly conservative to the core and ensuring that they are recognized for the talents that they provide for our nation. And this week is going to be a very special one indeed. So we are glad to be bringing you this episode today. My name is Dr. Nathan Street.
My name is Alan Mashburn, or Pastor Alan Mashburn. You don't have to call me Pastor, but Alan Mashburn here on Carolina Conservatives Preachers with a Punch. Great to have you back with us as our audience. Today we have a very special guest. We have Elisa Slider, and she is she's from Nevada and Texas. Spends her time a lot there. She's a business owner, and but she has also been very involved in the National Association, the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. We've invited her on today because she has been very involved in Latinos for Trump, and she can help us in our state as well as South Carolina become engaged with the Hispanic community that does so much, not only for our economy, but their close knitted family is very much a resemblance of what we used to see in America more so. So they have a lot to teach us, and we are wanting to learn. So nice to have you on the broadcast today.
Thank you for having me on.
Elisa, you are, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to recite some accolades, if you will. You are a former national vice chair of the RNHA, the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. You're also on the advisory board for Latinos for Trump and president of an organization, American Up. What exactly is that organization?
That's more for media. So we're using that for media outreach.
Okay. All right. Which is exactly where we are today. We're being shadow banned so much. We have to be very, very sneaky in how we get our message out, if we can use that word. Recently, I listened to a broadcast that you did on the Outlaws radio show. You started in a context of your humble beginnings. And can you share a little bit about how you were raised and what brought you to the point of being involved?
So definitely came from humble beginnings. Like I was discussing on the Outlaw show, in my neighborhood, we were kind of the well-off ones because we had running water, whereas some of the kids in my neighborhood didn't have running water. And when they would spend the night at our house, my mom would very gently make sure we all took showers and all took baths. So that way, nobody felt bad about anything, but that was her way of helping the other parents. My house was always the house that everybody went to. I have a very close-knit family, very strong, great family. And it's something I think we got from our Cuban heritage. Family's everything to us. Growing up that way and seeing how hard my dad worked and realizing, life's not easy. You got to work hard to get what you want. I think that's kind of where it led me down that road, was working hard to try to get what I want in life. And one of the things I ended up doing is working with my family business. And because I was able to work with my family business, I was also able to work from home. So I ran a business and worked from home so I could raise my children at the same time. And I think that was one of the most important things to me, to be able to be there for my kids at all times. So that family never left. I mean, that family, importance never left my heart, and it's still that way. So I'm always trying to be there for everybody. And I think that's something very big in the Hispanic community.
Is that something that led you to be involved in politics?
It did. When you start realizing how much politics affects your family, I think, and your everyday life, you realize that it's important to get involved. I had my grandfather growing up would always tell us stories about socialism, communism, because our family did leave Cuba from that situation. And so I grew up realizing like how bad it was there and never wanted that to happen here. So I decided to get involved and ended up one of my cousins, Marco Rubio, ended up running for president a few years back. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved with the RNHA, because I realized there wasn't really any Hispanic outreach, not from the GOP or RNC back then. So I got involved and kind of jumped in with both feet, and it took off. I ended up becoming the state chairwoman for the RNHA in Nevada pretty quickly, jumped on board with the national team as a social media director, and ended up working my way up to the vice chair.
Really? That's fantastic. I wonder, what's the message, that we need to get out to the Hispanic and the Latina community? The message that resonates so well, that, you guys are by and large conservative to the core. You're probably more conservative than most other subgroups. If we want to categorize everybody by race and ethnicity and all that, the Hispanic and Latina communities are probably more conservative than any other group, but yet there is a large swath of them that vote Democrat and vote leftist every 2 or 4 years. What's the message that they're hearing from the leftists, and how do we counter that as conservatives?
So one of the things that I've always heard growing up is that they thought the Democrat Party cares about everybody, that they're very caring, they're loving, and they're very giving. So I think that they've been misled in that thought. I think that's where we have failed in some of our messaging. I think with conservatives that we need to focus more on family values and reaching out, helping our neighbor. And I think that once they realize that we're not the big bad fascists that they've been told we are, that things will change. And I mean, when you start talking about the issues and you break down the issues about, business and the cost of eggs, I mean, something simple as that, they start realizing, okay, maybe Republicans kind of are right here. And they're starting to realize, like, okay, because I've seen more and more Hispanics become more conservative or Republican lately and jump on board. But it's about messaging. It's all about messaging. We got to make sure they understand we're in the same boat they are. I mean, I'm dealing with what they're dealing with, but I'm choosing the side that I know can fix it, and not the side that's going to continue that pattern. And I mean, hopefully, unfortunately, these last couple of years have been a hard lesson, but I'm hoping that people are learning it with the Biden administration. So I know I'm learning.
Yeah, your business. You talked about how that Republicans are the ones that could most likely, they have the most opportunity and the most will, I think, to fix some of the issues. And you've talked about you're a small business owner, and you just mentioned that Republicans are the ones that can help with business. How has the last 2 years under this oppressive regime, this leftist regime, how has that affected your business particularly?
Well, it's hurt my business. Unfortunately, the costs of everything has gone up. So we're paying more for freight, paying more for fuel, paying more for hay. It's been hard. And unfortunately, customers are having a hard time catching up, because we're not all making more money and magically able to pay more. But for some reason, it just, with inflation, it doesn't go hand in hand.
What?
So,
you mean it's not transitory? You mean we've got inflation right now?
Yeah.
What? Yes, inflation has been a nightmare. So much so that I've had to cut back on my trucking side. And now I hire out for subhaulers mostly, because the cost got so bad. I mean, it hurt our business, and we're surviving, but barely. So I'm praying that things get better. I'm praying that the change comes, and the only way the change, I think, will come is if we get a different administration in-house.
And you're not wealthy, right? I'm just guessing. You're kind of maybe middle class, somewhere around there, and that they always say that they're only after the wealthy, that this is only going to affect the wealthy. But you're like us, where we're at best middle class. It hurts, doesn't it?
Hurts, absolutely hurts. I mean, when you're paying $100 more in groceries a week, it's killer. I mean, I'm supporting 3 people, and it's not easy. I mean, that's not easy. I've had to cut back my own pay just to keep the business going and hope that things get better. I mean, we lost a lot of customers. A lot of people end up getting rid of horses, and they can't afford to buy the hay that they were buying it the way they were before. And so it hurts. It hurts all around.
Just for grins and giggles, I've got a business background, former business owner. What is the price of diesel fuel there per gallon?
I think we're still around 5 something in Nevada. Here in Texas, I believe it's around 380, 390. But
so weekly or monthly, however you measure it, can you give me an estimate of what your business is paying on diesel fuel?
Last year we ended up paying around 90,000 for one truck.
Wow.
For the whole year?
For the year. Yeah.
For one truck.
For one truck.
Yikes.
Wow. That equates to about 2 employees here in North Carolina on a middle income or middle class scale. So we see we cannot last much longer if we keep going this route. Let me ask you this. Going back to the Hispanic community, what is the best way that you have found success in engaging the Hispanic community, in pointing them toward the Republican Party or toward conservative principles?
Honestly, the best thing that we've come to see is just being in their neighborhood, showing up, being at events, being present. I think that we've tended to fail that in the past. One thing that I noticed that President Trump did was he actually put centers into predominantly Hispanic neighborhoods. And it was kind of interesting because you start seeing more people show up and asking questions and people you wouldn't see before. I've never seen the RNC do something like that, unfortunately, in the past. I mean, I think they are now. They've kind of taken on that program somewhat, but
they see the value in it.
Yeah. So, and thank God, because it's needed. If we don't have outreach, how are they going to know what we stand for? And how are they going to know that they relate with us and they actually agree with us if we're not doing that outreach? So messaging is everything, making sure they understand we know what they're going through. We know the importance of family. We understand how hard the economy is. This is what happens when we have the wrong administration in. I mean, we have to target that messaging, especially with younger voters. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they don't vote. And, that's a waste of time. Absolutely not. It is not a waste of time. It's something we have to do because in 5 and 10 years from now, when they're voting, if we didn't make that difference back then, it's going to hurt us. So it's important not only just to reach out to the Hispanic community, the Black community, but the younger generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what you are seeing and hearing as far as you're there in Texas now, the border, and how does the Hispanic community, particularly those who are of a conservative penchant, I should say, how are they viewing this debacle that we are seeing with the border right now?
I'm not too familiar with everybody here in Texas when it comes to that. I know that people talk about it and are concerned about the safety issues, which was something similar we dealt with my farms over in Arizona and Southern California. I know that they had a hard time with that, worrying about safety and protecting their laborers that work there with them. And, so that was a big issue back then. And I know that jobs and stuff, I think a lot of people are starting to worry about the prices going down because now they're being paid less because now there's an influx of people who are able to work the same jobs. And so I know that's some of the issues that they are worried about is the finances aspect of it and the safety aspect of it. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that the kids are the ones who are not doing so well coming across the border. There's a lot of concerns with their health and their safety and how they get here and what happens to them. Some of them are traumatized. And so I know that's actually becoming a big concern, and people are starting to worry about child trafficking. And so, I'm glad it's finally coming to the forefront because that's always been a concern of mine.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it makes even more sense and even more powerful coming from you as a mother, that you see that those issues are coming about. and the child trafficking and the fentanyl crisis that we are seeing coming across the border. That I fully believe that it's China that is working with the cartels and bringing it across the border. What would we be able to do as conservatives, particularly, let's say, in a North or South Carolina, that we would be able to effect some sort of change in the way that we address the Hispanic community, particularly in the I want to direct you a little bit towards faith. Talking about faith, every Hispanic or Latino that I know here when I was in North Carolina, but is in South Carolina as well, very heavily Catholic or very heavily Pentecostal. There's two, very much the two, which are very conservative, faith-based groups. How important is it that we as conservatives, as preachers, reach out, and what could we do as preachers particularly to embrace the Hispanic community, bring them into our churches, and to make them more a part of the overall community, the overall fabric of faith that we have in our states?
I think it comes back down to community outreach, getting into the neighborhoods and helping in every way you can. I mean, there's events, there's all kinds of stuff. If you're present, and then they're able to see you and they're able to talk to you, they'll come. I mean, they'll come, definitely. Faith was a big thing growing up. I remember, my grandmother, she had all her candles and her statues. She was very Catholic. So, faith is very important. It's one of the top things for us, absolutely, along with family. So just being present, showing up, getting into these events that they have. I mean, there's always some festival somewhere. Show up, be there, bring your church there, bring your people there, set up a booth, introduce yourself, stuff like that. And also, like I said, helping with the community, food drives, things that, coat drives, that kind of stuff, where you're trying to help and give back. They see that, and they want more of that. They want to feel like it's a community where everybody's helping each other.
So you've had these conversations with others in your community about conservatism versus leftism and socialism and all that sort of stuff. You've had these conversations. How does that go when you have these conversations?
It's very eye-opening sometimes for them, because once again, the messaging has been misconstrued. So they think that Democrats are very caring and loving and this and that, and that's the way to go. But then when we start talking about, why I choose to, believe in the Second Amendment, and why I'm big about protecting it, it's because I want to protect my family. I'm a single mom. I can't, I got to be the one to protect my girl. And so they start realizing, oh, okay, so you're doing it for protection. You're not some evil wanting to go out and hurt people. No, absolutely not. I have to protect my family. When it comes to taxes, we're overtaxed. That hurts us. That's less money in our pocket. They start realizing, like, well, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. And they start to realize, maybe I'm conservative. Maybe I am Republican. Maybe I am those things. But it's all about talking and getting that message out. I mean, they don't realize what we stand for and what we're about. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Now, if I recall in past communication with you and our mutual friend, you had quite a bit of success as the Latinos for Trump. Am I on the right target here? You've had quite a bit of success. Can you share with us some of the success that you've had for him, and not only him, but for the America First policies?
We did a lot of during the campaign. We did bus tours, we did events in neighborhoods and stuff, and they were so successful. I had never seen the turnout previously. Okay, so anytime that we've done campaigning before, or anytime I've done stuff for the party, and I've never seen the turnout that I saw during this last campaign season with President Trump's Latinos for Trump Advisory Board. The amount of people that showed up at the events, the amount of women that I saw, minority women at these events, I've never seen that before. I'll put it that way. That was kind of one of my biggest shockers, was seeing how many women were getting involved, and from the minority aspect. And I've never seen that before. Unfortunately, a lot of times when you go to Republican events, it's not a majority minority people there. It's mostly
Say it,
white people.
Elisa. Go ahead and
Yeah,
say it.
it's mostly white people. There's like 90% normally. So
Old white folks with white hair. That's usually it, right?
it really is. Yeah. So when President Trump had these events, it was kind of shocking because it was a like a breath of fresh air, seeing so many people from so many backgrounds there, and women on top of it, because it was enlightening. I was very excited. I realized, okay, these mamas are getting it. Like, these ladies are getting it. Like, they're with me. They're starting to, they're starting to see what we're seeing, And I bet you once we start hitting the ground again like that again, it's going to be the same thing, but even more so. I have a feeling people are ready. They're just waiting for us to reach out that hand. So
You are still involved with the Latinos for Trump, right?
yes, I believe so. I mean, once he gets that going, we're all back on board. So
Yeah,
we're
and
just
that
waiting.
was going to be my next question is, do you still support it? But let's say a Ron DeSantis gets in, and he is from the Cuban community. So what if he gets in? Or would you still back President Trump?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ride or die. I'm ride or die right now.
Wow. How about that? What is it about him? What is it specifically about him that made you get on board that diehard?
I think because he's not afraid to tell it like it is. I know he's like rough around the edges and some people don't like that, but that was refreshing for me because when you deal with politicians all the time and you get the stuffed suits and the same one-liners that they always have, it gets to be like, okay, yeah, you're just going to fall in place. And then once you get in, you're going to end up falling and doing whatever they tell you to do. Trump wasn't like that. Trump, he was definitely not like that from the beginning, from the get-go. So you knew early on that he was going to get in there and cause hell. And he did. And I think we need that. We need that more now than we did before at this point. So
that's why they fear him so much.
Yeah, it is why they fear him. And if they didn't fear him and weren't trying to take him down the way they are, then I probably wouldn't respect him as much as I do.
That's pretty powerful. If that doesn't speak volumes to other politicians everywhere else, I say this all the time, Elisa, that we've got so many stuffed shirt politicians, and I always call them pansy politicians or panty-waisted politicians is what I call them. They do nothing. We've got so many of them everywhere that they just want to go along to get along, and they don't want to rock the boat, and nothing ever gets done. And then they wonder why no one likes them. And the left, the media is always going to hate them. They're always going to dislike them. But it took somebody like a President Trump that, I'll say it, I wouldn't want my children to grow up to be like him other than be successful. I mean, I'd like them to be successful like that, but he's got some skeletons in that are not so much in the closet anymore. Everybody knows he's skeletons. Everybody knows it. It's hey, whatever. He owns it. He wears it as a badge of honor now. He's like, hey, this is who I am. Take it or leave it.
Right.
But then I think that frees him so well to go and do what he knows to do is right. And he's not beholden to anybody. But then we've got, it's someone like that Hispanic and Latino numbers in the election were historic for Trump. They were historic, Elisa. So what you all are doing is making a difference. It is actually, it's tangible. You can see the data.
Right.
So it's so important. It's so vital. And I was very curious as to whether you were going to continue on with him or not.
Absolutely. I am. For my own personal perspective, absolutely. I'm on board with Team Trump 100%. I'm excited. I can't wait till things start rolling out. I definitely want to be front and center. But currently I am running for chair for the RNHA. So I am running for the chair position. Our convention is on Monday, on the 8th. So as an organization, that'll be decided later on. They'll vote, they'll decide who to vote, who to support. But my personal Team Trump 100%.
So let us be one of the ones to get on board and And Pastor Mashburn, I'm just going to take this bull by the horns and go for it and just say
that's what we do.
That's what we do. We just do it. We just don't ask, we do.
Right.
So, and then we don't ask for forgiveness either, Elisa. So that's just something we do. We're not afraid. We ain't scared. So we just go on and say, RNHA, we endorse Elisa Slider for the chair. This is the kind of person that you need, a small business owner, a single mother who is not afraid to raise her children up the right way to go and to stand up for her values and beliefs. She's the one that you need in that chair position and leading that caucus, leading that group into this battle that we are in. So we're definitely behind you on this. And one other thing that we want you to say, Elisa, is your business. Tell us the name of your business so that our listeners in the Carolina areas, and we also reach other states as well. And we've even had some folks, I think, in other countries that have listened to us as well. So your business that we can help spread, because anybody that's a conservative business owner, we definitely want people to use your products and your services.
I definitely can use all the help I can get. My business is Silver State Hay. We are based out of Las Vegas, but we provide hay throughout the country. We've even done some overseas shipping to Dubai. So
wow,
if you're interested, let me know. Definitely give me a call. But yeah, Silver State Hay.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you buy the hay, you distribute, or you raise it all yourself?
Buy and sell, just broker.
Okay. Well, I'm learning here.
That's awesome. Different areas. So.
Well, it's been great to talk with you, and with our endorsement, you're a surefire to win. I mean, you know how it is.
Yeah.
But hey, we want to reserve the right to come back to you on these issues because this is ongoing. We're learning. We have seen where we have missed the boat, and we don't want to miss the boat anymore because our Hispanic communities are not only growing and thriving, but they are business owners, they're taxpayers. We're in this together. They're very conservative in the way they live, the way they vote, and we see eye to eye on majority of issues, specifically abortion, and a number of issues. So we have to be more engaged now than ever, and we have got to band together and stop this godless regime in its footprints and take back our country.
I agree.
So we want to hold you on retainer if we can do that. All right.
Absolutely. Have me back anytime.
All right. It is a joy. Has been a joy to have you. And I'm going to ask Dr. Street to take us out. He is our announcer.
Well, you know, you just got to be. You got to have an announcer every now and then. So, folks,
sure.
Listen. You got someone as great as Elisa here, someone that we have just been overjoyed to have with us and honored to have with us. Folks, look, I know that there's been a lot of talk about the border issues and all that sort of stuff, and it does need to be fixed. Totally needs to be fixed. We need to close our border. But when you've got such great people who are deeply conservative, Pastor's right. We have missed the boat and missed the mark in really embracing our Hispanic Americans and our Latino and Latina Americans, because guess what? They are Americans. That means that they're our brothers and our sisters. And I am happy to call Elise Slider our sister today. And so glad that she was able to join with us today. And folks, I encourage you to go out there and support conservative business owners, support conservatives who are making a difference in our communities, making a difference in our country, just like Elise. Go out, Elisa, I'm sorry, I said your name wrong again there. Go out there and support these people and really just make their businesses shine. Folks, we are so happy to have had you here on Carolina Conservatives. Come back and be with us. Join with us. Join this community of believers. Join this community of fighters. I believe Elisa is a fighter, and I'm glad and honored to stand side by side, easy for me to say, side by side with Elisa and fighting the evil leftist regimes that's trying to take over our country and destroy it from the foundations. Let's stand and fight together. Because united we stand, divided we fall. God bless you. I'm Dr. Street.
I'm Pastor Alan Mashburn. It's been a joy to have our guest. It's been a joy to come into your neck of the woods as our listeners and our viewers. Remember, this is the only country there is left on the face of the earth that has the freedom that we enjoy. And we have a republic if you can keep it. God bless you.